today we are going to talk about Terraform object type variables, or what is an object type variable in Terraform. If you remember our earlier episode number 11, or any kind of our examples, we have extensively used Google Storage Bucket, simple resource. In our earlier episode, we used individual variables like name, region, project, tags, which were separate from each other. We could provide values to each of the variables, correct? Instead of that, if we want to tightly control the parameters of our particular resource or module or anything like that, we can use an object type variable. Now, what is an object type variable? Now let's discuss that. We have already seen typical variables like string, map, list, or if not, check the description section. I'll be putting my existing video where we have discussed about various variable types and so on. So for example, the highlighted one, which is a project or the project ID, I'm taking as variable name project, which is a simple string type. Now I am defining one variable, obviously starts with variable, the name of the variable, which is bucket for me, and in the type I define object, starts with a parenthesis, then a curly braces, and curly braces is the object denotation. And yes, you might be thinking we have already seen curly braces, that is a map type variable. And if we remembered our any of examples with map type, for example, the tags which we used earlier, it simply says map of strings. It does not define what are the parameters it is going to accept. You can give anything. But if we want to control the parameters, for example, I am defining under object, I need a parameter called name. So I am defining name is equals to string. This name is a string type. Then I am defining a region. I'll come to the optional part little bit later. Let me discuss. So I need a region and a tag. So under this object, it only accepts three values. One is string type, which is name. Another one is also string, which is the region. Another one is tags, which is map of strings. So object is a complex type of variable. You can take any kind of values under one object. For example, I can take map of strings, list, anything like that, any combination of that. And once you tightly define that, you can control what are the parameters it is going to accept, whether it is optional or mandatory. For example, if I want to provide some values to this bucket variable, definitely I need to provide a name. For example, I am providing a name, but the region is optional. And I think maybe Terraform version 1.3 or 5 something, I don't exactly remember from which version, this optional argument or function, whatever you call it, it was introduced. So I can specify whether it's an optional or mandatory. If I do not specify optional, that means it's mandatory. And what is the type of that particular parameter, like string? Then after this comma, it's the remaining part is completely optional. Optional under optional. That's a joke. After defining the type, I can specify a default value. What does that mean? That means if I do not provide the region, I can simply remove or hash or something like that. Then it is going to replace that value with the default one, which we specify after the comma. And we can simply omit this one. Okay, but let it be, because I want a default value if user doesn't provide that. Similar for that, it's optional and map of strings. And the default value is a blank map. If user doesn't provide anything, it will be a blank map. That means nothing. Now let's get this into action. What I have done, and obviously the code link will be given in the description, which is available in my GitHub. And I have already cloned that in my Cloud Shell, Google Cloud Shell. You can run your Terraform from anywhere, that doesn't matter, but let's do our example. So as you see, I went into the path, DevOps YouTube Terraform and episode number 12. If I put ls, I see the files which I have created and the file is here. And meanwhile, what I have done, I have simply updated my project ID because I need a real project ID which is missing in the GitHub, and I have given a name and a region for that variable. And our variable was region, tags and names. I'm not providing the tags. Let me make it little bit bigger. Terraform init. Form plan. It is simply going to create one bucket for me, nothing else. That's good. Terraform apply, and auto approve is hands-free. Let's do that. And bucket is created. Let me go to storage bucket then. Buckets from my GCP console, and it's here. And you will see the default value is Europe West 2, as I have given US East 1 by overriding that value. You will see the location is US East 1. And let us do one more thing. I have just simply created it. Let me change some values and let me add a random parameter which is not defined under the object. So something, this is one parameter, is not added in the variables. Let's see what it does. Simply I'll put Terraform plan and let's see. It is detecting no change, or maybe let's change this one. It will create and destroy, or sorry, destroy and create. That means recreate. Terraform plan. Let's do the apply. Meanwhile, I can pass any values. That's an experiment I have not done earlier. Let's do one more experiment. I always love to do some experiments. Let's change something on the bucket. And by the way, how I am accessing the value? Simply as we do for the map, var.the name of the variable which is bucket for me, and the parameter, name, region, or tags, whatever it is. Oh, what does that mean? I am providing a value which is something which is not defined under variables.tf. I can pass the value, and I'll not say pass, I can define the value under tf vars, but we cannot reference to that. That means I cannot put var.bucket.something. If I put that and if I do Terraform plan, it simply gives me unsupported attribute because that is not defined under that object. So you can put any values to that object, but you cannot access that if it is not defined in the object. That's the difference between your map and your object type variable. Let us do one more thing. Let's make a list of objects. What I'll simply do, I'll change the name of this variable. Let me make it bucket list. And what I will do, I'll simply add list in front of the object and I'll close that parenthesis. So it's now essentially a list of this object. That means I can put this object as many times as I want. And I'll show you what I want to achieve. So if I want to create multiple buckets at the same time, I can simply grab this resource and I can copy paste as many times as I need, and I can change the name of this resource, right? But that's not a good practice. We know loops, and if you are wondering loops, I'll be putting another link in the description. And we will go with for each. But as the list or the variable is list type, forget about the object. We cannot directly use for each because for each is kind of a key value pair it needs. What I'll simply do, I'll create a for loop and I will internally create one map out of it. And let me show you how to do it. I'll be writing for bucket. Bucket means ABCD and it's just a variable name or reference under this for in. So for bucket in var dot, what is my variable name? That is bucket list. So var dot bucket list. Essentially I'm saying under bucket list you take one bucket each time under the for loop, and I'm putting one colon. So colon means under this for loop whatever you want to execute. And I want to create a map, and map needs one unique ID. In our case, name of each bucket will be obviously unique. So I can take that as a key. That is my key, bucket.name. That means every time in the bucket list, it will pick up one value and it will take the name out of it, and left side of this equals to greater than, it's the key in a map, and I'm saying the value will be the entire object itself. And now let's see how it looks like. And instead of var.bucket now, because that at that time only one variable was there which was bucket, I can easily reference var.bucket.name or something like that. What I have to do, I can simply put each dot key. What is the meaning of each dot key? Every time I put a name to a bucket, that becomes my key, and if I type in each dot key, it gets the name. And obviously var.project is fixed, I'm not going to change that. Same thing will happen for this region. So what I have to do, each dot value, and what is the value under that map for each key? That is bucket itself. That means this entire thing will be the object. I get this, and how do I access that region? Dot region. You guessed it right. each dot value dot region. Same goes for the tags. Each dot value dot tags, and it looks something like this. Each dot key, because I'm making the key under this for loop, and what I can simply do, for example, each dot value dot name. That will also work because the entire object is the value of that map. And let me make a list out of it, bucket list. Now you see under the list I have only one value. The value is this object itself. And if I want to create multiple buckets, I can simply copy paste this and let me put -1 then -2. So this will be part 1, that means one bucket. This is another bucket, and what I'll simply do, I'll remove this region because that was our optional value, correct? And if I do not provide anything, it will go out and create in Europe West 2. And maybe this time I'll put tags. So I'm giving one random tag, creator is thus learning, doesn't matter. For the first one, tag is not there, the default value is taken. For the second one, region is not there, default value is taken. The name parameter is mandatory as per our variable definition. That is how you can use object under a list. And let's see, because I've done this on the runtime, let me now go to the terminal. Let me put Terraform init, Terraform plan. As the earlier bucket was there, it is going to destroy basically, and then we create 1 to destroy, 2 to add, because in our list we have new 2 buckets. So all greens are the new one, and the red, that means it is going to destroy the old one, which was our test bucket. Now let's do this. Terraform apply hands-free auto approve, and it is running. There you go. Apply is complete. Let me uncheck this one and refresh that out. Now we get 1 and 2. And as you see, the location I have not given it, it has taken Europe West 2. Now you get the idea how to use object type variable very efficiently. By saying that, let's wrap up. Thanks for watching. See you in some next amazing videos.